Hello students, welcome to the online lecture series of St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurugram. Myself Satyendra Vats, Assistant Professor in ETC Department. Our today's topic is the generation of pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation, which is a part of pulse analog modulation. It is a part of unit 3rd of communication systems. So first of all we will see the generation of pulse amplitude modulation. So as we all know, in PAM systems the width and the timing of the pulse, that is the position, is maintained constant, but the amplitude of each pulse is varied in accordance with the instantaneous value of the analog signal or the message signal. So our message signal is an analog signal, which is a continuous time signal, which looks like this. It is a sinusoidal signal. So we have already seen the sampling. So using sampling theorem provides us the basis to convert the analog signal into the discrete time signals. Okay, so the analog signal is sampled at regular intervals such that each sample is proportional to the amplitude of the signal at that sampling instant. We have already seen the types of sampling, that is impulse sampling, natural sampling and flat top sampling. So if we have a train of pulse at with a time period of ts, then we have impulses at every ts. So at every value of this impulse, at every impulse in this train, we would get the value of our analog signal, which can look like this. That is, we would get 1 point, then at that instant, and this. So we would get at every instant, every sampling instant, the value of the analog signals. In natural sampling, it follows the amplitude of the analog signal, like that. If in this pulse it follows the amplitude of analog signal, in that it follows like that, and at that sampling instant it follows the amplitude of analog signal. Like if it is a instantaneous or impulse sampling, we would get the signal like this. Okay, if it is a natural sampling, then we would get signal like something like this. It would follow the amplitude of the modulating signal during the entire pulse. But the most important is the flat top sampling, in which the signal, like if we have if this is our signal, analog signal, then if these are the timing instants which we need, at which we need to get the sample. So at this point, whatever is the value of the analog signal, it will take the first instantaneous value like this. Then at this instant it will take the first instantaneous value, and the flat of the sample signal would remain, or the top of the sample signal would remain flat like this at every sample. Okay, so this is how the flat top sampling would provide us the sampled signal of the analog signal. Okay, in impulse sampling, impulse sampling is not used for information exchange as it has very low power. Flat top sampling is the most widely used sampling. Okay, so we can see a flat top sampler which is using two switches. So this first switch, uh, this is basically a sample and hold circuit. So this first switch will take the samples and hold the value till the next pulse comes. Here we have a capacitor. So flat top sampling makes use of sample and hold circuit. Capacitor instantly charge and hold the value of signal for the TS second, that is the uh, time period of the pulse TS, which comes from TS is equal to 1 upon sampling frequency, and sampling frequency is equal to 2 of maximum of the modulating signal. So capacitor instantly charges and hold the value of the signal for TS second, that is until the next sample arrives. So capacitor instantly charges and hold the value of the signal for TS second, that is until the next sample comes in, and only the starting age of the pulse, that is if this is the starting age, okay, this one, only the starting age of the pulse represents the instantaneous value of the message. So whatever the value of the message at this starting age, it will be taken and maintained until the next sample comes. So sampling switch is used to specify the sampling duration TS. For minimum distortion, the sampling rate should be more than twice of FM, that is the sampling rate or sampling frequency should be greater than or equal to 2 of FM. Okay, so this is a flat top sampling diagram. So now see the pulse amplitude modulator, how we can generate the pulse amplitude wave from an analog signal. So first of all, this is the basic diagram of the pulse amplitude modulator. In this we have a low pass filter, a multiplier, and a pulse generator, and in last we have a pulse shaping network. This is the block diagram. So first of all, the message signal is passed to the low pass filter to make it a band limited or baseband signal whose cutoff frequency is FM. If this is the cutoff frequency of the analog signal or the message signal, then this signal is sampled by the multiplier using the pulse train of pulses. So we would feed the input signal, which is a band limited signal, to the multiplier, and with the help of this pulse train generator we would get the pulsed signal, and we would get the pulse at a time instant of every TS second. Okay, it is then passed through a pulse shaping network which produces the flat top sampled pulses. So this is a basic diagram of the pulse amplitude modulator. So now we need to again demodulate it at the receiver end. So how we can do that? This is the basic block diagram of the pulse amplitude modulation reception. Okay, so in that we need a holding circuit and a low pass filter, because we can easily get our message signal back using a low pass filter at the receiver, and in case of pulse amplitude demodulation. So it uses a holding circuit. Switch S is closed after the arrival of the pulse. Like we have get the at the input we have the pulse amplitude wave, which would look like this, something like this. So the switch is closed after the arrival of first pulse and it is opened at the end of that pulse. Okay, so capacitor C is charged to the pulse amplitude value and hold this value till the next pulse arrives. So switch S is closed after the arrival of first pulse, which charges our capacitor, and capacitor holds that pulse amplitude value until the next pulse arrives. So after that, signal is smoothened by a low pass filter. We have used a low pass filter in the end in order to get the message signal back. This is our low pass filter, as you can see in the block diagram. Okay, so bandwidth required for the transmission of pulse amplitude modulated wave signal is very much large than the modulating signal. That is, bandwidth of the PAM is much greater than FM. So amplitude of pulse varies. Since the amplitude is varying in pulse amplitude modulator, so power requirement is also varies as the amplitude of message changes. Okay, these are some of the applications of pulse amplitude modulation. It is used for transmitting signal over short distances, baseband channels, and for simple communication. It is also used in instrumentation systems. Okay, and also used in analog to digital converters in computer interfacing. Now we have pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation. In pulse width modulation, the width of the carrier pulse is being varied as per the amplitude of message or modulating signal, while in the pulse position modulation, the position of the carrier pulse is being varied as per the amplitude, and the width and the amplitude remains same in pulse modulation. Pulse position modulation, only the position is varied of the carrier pulse, rest of the things remain same. So this is a uh, diagram of generation of pulse width modulation, which is nothing but a comparator. It uses a comparator to generate the pulse width modulation. At the input of this comparator, we have the input message, that is the modulating signal, analog signal, and a sawtooth input as well. Okay, so it will compare both these signals to get the pulse width modulated output. Let's see how. So this is the diagram. This is the sawtooth wave, you can see over there, and this is our input signal of low frequency. So it will compare the amplitude of both of them. Okay, if the uh, amplitude of the message signal is higher than the sawtooth waveform, then it will provide positive pulse, and if the input amplitude is less than sawtooth, then it will provide a negative pulse. So we can see the width may get varied according to the amplitude of the modulating signal, hence it is called the pulse width modulating signal. Okay, the comparator produces the output. Our comparator would produces the output depending upon the input applied, that is high input or low input. Okay, comparator produces the output depending upon the inputs applied, that is the sawtooth wave and a analog input signal. It produces the positive or negative pulse depending upon the value of the or the amplitude of the message signal as compared to the sawtooth pulses. If it is message signal magnitude is greater than sawtooth, then we will get a positive pulse, and if the magnitude of message signal is less than the sawtooth wave, then then we get a negative pulse. So the width of the pulse is dependent upon the amplitude of the message signal. That is why it is called pulse width modulation, in which width of the pulse is varying according to the amplitude of message signal. Okay, we can use IC 710 as a comparator. On the input we can apply two inputs, that is one sawtooth wave and other the modulating signal. Okay. Now let's see the generation of pulse position modulation. For that we need to first convert our analog signal into pulse width modulating input. Then it is applied to an inverter. We would invert every pulse. If it is positive, it will make it negative. If it is negative, it will make it positive. Then it will be fed to a differentiator and then to a positive edge triggered pulse generator to produce the pulse position modulated output. So inverter reverses the polarity of the pulses. In differentiator we would get positive spikes where the original pulse width modulation pulse is going from high to low. That is, if the pulse is going from high to low, we would get a positive spike, and when it is going from low to high we would get a negative spike. Okay, let's see in the diagram. So here you can see we have, this is our pulse width modulated signal of varying width, and the inverter would first inverts the pulses and the differentiator would produce the spikes. Like in this picture you can see, for this pulse which is going from high to low we are getting a positive spike, then from low to high we are getting a negative spike, and so on. So using that these spikes, our positive edge triggered pulse generator would generate the pulse for every positive spike. That is, for every positive spike we get a pulse of constant width, as the width and the amplitude remains constant in a pulse position modulated wave. So for every positive spike we get a pulse. Okay, and for negative pulse we would get nothing. So this is how the pulse position modulated wave would be generated from a pulse width modulated wave. Okay, so spikes are fed to a positive edge triggered fixed width pulse generator. That generator generates the pulses of fixed width when a positive spike appears, and if a negative spike appears it would generate nothing. The occurrence of the pulses are dependent on the input message signal, and hence the pulse produced also, that is the ppm, is also dependent on the message signal. Fixed width pulse generator can be a monoshot device like IC74121 and a timer IC555. Okay, so these both ICs can be used as the pulse width generator. Now let's see the demodulation of PWM and PPM. Both can be modulated using the same circuit. So at the input we apply the pulse width modulated pulse into the integrator. The ramp integrator would convert the pulse into a ramp signal. The ramp is maintained at the maximum peak time. After the fixed time the voltage will return to 0 voltage. So if we get a pulse width, like for this width, the integrator would provide a ramp signal, and the height of the ramp would be higher for a larger width pulse. If the pulse is of shorter length, then the height of the ramp will also be less. So this is how the width of the pulse would generate a ramp of varying height. Okay, as the width of the pulse are different, these ramps will reach different heights in each cycle, which is directly proportional to the width of the pulse. Let's see how. So here this is the basic block diagram of a pulse width demodulator. So first of all, the pulse width modulation signal is applied to this uh, power splitter, which would divide the signal into two levels. uh, all the properties of the signal would remain same in both the signals, but the power would be splitted. It will split the signal in two signals, okay, with equal powers. Rest of the things would remain same, amplitude, width, and everything would remain same. So one is feed it to the ramp generator or the integrator, and one is feed it to the pulse generator. Then these both outputs are added to get the message signal, which is first clipped using a clipper and then passed through a low pass filter, because at the clipper end we would get a pulse amplitude modulated wave, from which we can extract our message signal using a low pass filter. So at this point we would get a pulse amplitude modulated wave, which can uh, get converted back to the original signal using a low pass filter. So if this is our pulse width modulated wave of varying width, you can see, then it is fed to the integrator, which would convert the signal into ramp, and the ramp height would depend on the width of the pulse. So if the pulse is of larger width, the ramp height would be greater. Okay, then a pulse generator is there, which would generate the pulses of fixed amplitude and fixed width. Then these two signals are added in the adder circuit, which would produce a signal like look like something like this. And then we would feed this circuit this waveform to the clipper circuit, which has a predefined clipping value, which would generate the pulse amplitude modulated wave, which would look like this, with having a varying amplitude. Okay, so then this pulse amplitude wave is applied at the input of low pass filter, which would give us the message signal. So this is about the pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, and pulse position modulation. We have seen how can we generate them and demodulate them to get the message signal. Thank you very much.